This segment is all about selling your business in today's climate. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books published to lead their fields, educate consumers, and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Michael Kendall. He's the founder of the Kendall Capital Group. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of clients that you help?
Well, we're mostly centered in St. Louis and around the Midwest, but I'm kind of a boutique, what I would call boutique intermediary. We typically do a little bit higher than Main Street, but a little bit below kind of the private equity line, if you will. So our clients are typically like 2 to 25 million in revenue. Clients, they probably range anywhere from 5 to 50 employees, kind of in that ballpark. We're industry agnostic, so it's really more location based, but we do an awful lot of manufacturing, distribution. I've done trucking, a lot of sign manufacturing companies. So it's really just kind of all over the place.
When business owners are really great at growing their business and growth, how good are they at selling their businesses? How prepared do you find most of them are?
Well, it's much easier to sell a business that's growing. So those business owners tend to be a little bit better and more organized and things like that. But generally speaking, the business owners haven't really given a lot of thought into what it takes to sell a business, nor how to maybe prepare the financials and just really look at, if I were going to sell the business, would I be running it any differently than I am today? And I think that's probably an important consideration.
Can you share with us some of the biggest myths or misconceptions that they might be holding about selling a business?
Well, a lot of times they'll, read an industry rag and think that a business is worth, 5x, and a lot of these small to medium sized companies, they're all valued differently. So each industry is a little different, and you really, I think, need to get in and understand what makes one business more valuable in the same industry niche than another business, and what are the value drivers, if you will. What are the key performance indicators in that particular business? And I think if they would have known that earlier in the process, they would be able to improve those and really get a much higher value out of their business when they exit.
Right on. When you start working with businesses, have you found any common big mistakes or pitfalls that they all seem to fall into you could warn people about?
Well, probably the biggest one is the financials. I mean, when we go to take a business to market, you really need 3 to 5 years of financials, and I think if you would look at the financials from the viewpoint, if you were selling a business, are they organized in such a way that give you all those important metrics right there in the financials? So probably the biggest mistake I see over and over again is the financials are a mess, and it just makes it very difficult to sell a company unless those are in order. And that unfortunately is probably the easiest fix, but you need time to do it. So I would tell anybody, if you're thinking of selling the next 3 to 5 years, have somebody look at those from a sales standpoint and really kind of review those.
Let's talk a little bit about the economic climate in your area. Is there really a good or a bad time to sell a business? What's it like now, especially after the pandemic?
Yeah. The pandemic was interesting. Several of the businesses did incredibly well, and several did incredibly poorly. It did make it more difficult to sell during the pandemic in terms of the due diligence and getting vendors in. For example, getting a fire marshal in to give you an occupancy permit. You couldn't get any vendors in to make any corrections or changes or even give you an estimate in a lot of cases. So that was more difficult. Now, I don't think you can time the market. I think the people that really do try and time the market end up getting burnt by the market. And so I don't know that there's a great time. I will say the business climate now is getting very interesting, more due to the interest rates. If you think about your home, if the interest rates go up, the value of your home goes down. And a lot of that's true in the business climate as well, but it's also you're seeing the lenders are wanting to take less risk to the value of the loan. And so I advise most business owners that probably 85% of the businesses that transact are going to have some sort of owner financing or an earnout or some sort of owner participation. I think that's increasing right now pretty dramatically, and I think the lenders are actually forcing that topic.
Fascinating insight. Michael, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners sell their businesses? How did you get started?
You know, um, I had a IT company that I sold in 2006, and I never planned on selling it. But we were at the time going down the path of a pretty substantial growth strategy, and it was about 50% organic and 50% by acquisition. And so I started learning everything I could about mergers and acquisitions, finance, the VC world, the private equity world, and then I found myself out of a job at at 40 years old. So um, uh, what a couple of the projects that I worked on were M&A related, and so I eventually just hung up an M&A shingle, and everything I do today is success fee based, and I absolutely love the business. It's most business owners are just very, very good people. They're some of the sharpest at all walks of life, but they're just a very unique breed, and I really enjoy working with those folks.
Before I ask you my last question, in regards to selling a business in today's climate, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share?
Um, not, no, not really. The today's climate, it's still a seller's market. There's no inventory, so I wouldn't hold back. I mean, the businesses are going to transact. I would just be more open to buyers and being more active and getting those deals done, because I think we're just entering the cycle. We're not in the middle of it. This is the very beginning. Unfortunately, when you get into doing a deal, the bankers aren't going to tell you these things. They just never seem to say yes. They just always seem to say, I need this, or I want to look at that, or more. And I think you need to be realistic going into it, that the climate is changing, and we need to adapt to it.
For business owners listening who would love to speak with you and perhaps get your help, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Yeah, the easiest way is going to be the web, and it's kendallcapitalgroup.com, Kendall capitalgroup.com, and all my information's there, and there's some pretty good helpful tips and tricks and things that I would do as a business owner that I've taught other folks to do, and I think there's some good information out there.
Michael, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thank you very much for your time too, and I appreciate it.
That was Michael Kendall, founder of Kendall Capital Group. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish to lead their fields, educate consumers, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.